Opposition parties are voicing their criticism of the provincial government for not spending enough to help Ontarians through the pandemic. This after the province's Financial Accountability Office released a report showing that the Ford government spent $10 billion less than they budgeted for in the last fiscal year. Emily Taylor breaks down those numbers.
The Financial Accountability Office found the provincial government had planned to increase spending by $22.1 billion in the last fiscal year, but only spent about half of that.
This has been a crazy year because of the pandemic and the pandemic response.
The office found $10.3 billion of that budgeted money went unspent. The money was supposed to be used for healthcare, small businesses, and municipalities.
You don't need to go out and borrow money, and you don't need to spend money. You're being fiscally strong. The flip side of this, why this could be a bad news story, is that if the government has said, I'm prepared to spend money, and then doesn't, and you look at it and said, well, why didn't you? That's a necessary area.
Really where we saw the biggest, underspend, if you will, is in the sector we've called other programs. And that other program sector was sort of a creation of programs that were designed to respond to the pandemic.
Some of that $10 billion was for services that were underused throughout the pandemic, like doctor's visits or certain social services that shut in quarantine. But more than $1 billion of it was earmarked for the health sector and long-term care homes.
These were the homes that the provincial government were going to build this ring of steel around to keep them protected, and we know that didn't work, but you had the money.
Money opposition parties say could have gone a long way.
We know that many small businesses, our healthcare, our seniors, so many people were devastated throughout this third wave and through most of the pandemic. And to see that money not be spent, and when he could have helped people and chose not to, it's criminal, quite frankly.
The quicker we do the investments in programs that are needed in healthcare, in education, the quicker we can recover from this pandemic and get our economy back on track.
The FAO says spending is still up from the last fiscal year about 13%. That's around $21 billion. They say most of this money went into pandemic response. The Treasury Board also said it spent $20 billion more than it did in the previous year. Emily Taylor, CHCH News.